Before I dive into this story, I want to ask you something. Have you ever experienced a moment so small, so ordinary, that you almost ignored it but somehow it stayed with you? The kind of moment that doesn't feel important at the time, but later, when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, your mind drifts back to it. Something big happened, but because something shifted, glance. Explain if you're someone who notices those quiet moments. If you find meaning in the little things most people overlook. If you enjoy stories that don't shout but whisper, then you're in the right place. Over-the-top storytelling, it's about the subtle, the quiet. They follow you, they sit with you, they change the way you look at your own life. So if that sounds like something you'd want more of, take a second right now and hit subscribe, because the world is full of these moments, and once you start noticing them, you can't unsee them. My name is Claire Matthews. I'm 33 years old, and for the past 6 years, I've lived in a quiet neighborhood in Springfield, Illinois. It's the kind of place that doesn't change much, where time doesn't rush, just moves slowly, predictably, comfortably. On Saturday mornings, you hear lawnmowers, even if they don't remember your name. Dogs bark at nothing in particular. Somewhere 3 houses down, kids ride their bikes in uneven circles as the sun starts to set, their laughter echoing just enough to remind you that life is still happening. It's not exciting, but it's steady, and steady, I've learned, has its own kind of beauty. I've been married to my husband Daniel for almost 10 years now, a decade. 10 years of shared grocery lists, shared bills, shared inside jokes that no one else would understand. 10 years of knowing how he takes his coffee without asking. 10 years of comfortable silence, the kind where you don't feel the need to fill the space with words. Couple you see in movies. We don't have dramatic arguments, we don't make grand romantic gestures. Airport scenes or last-minute confessions. In the rain, what we have is quieter than that, but also stronger. It's routine, familiar, reliable. From the outside, it might look boring, but from the inside, it feels like home. Our life runs on patterns, not rigid ones, but predictable enough that you could almost set a clock by them. Mornings start with coffee at the kitchen counter. The sunlight hits the backsplash just right around 7:30, casting this soft glow across the room that makes everything feel calm. Unrushed. I work at the local library. It's quiet there, peaceful, the kind of place where the loudest crisis is someone returning a book late, and even that feels manageable. Something comforting about being surrounded by stories all day, stories that are bigger than your own life, dramatic, more chaotic. And yet, you always come back to your own small, steady reality at the end of the day. Dinner is usually at 6. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but almost always together, if the weather is kind. We go for a short walk afterward. Nothing special. Just around the block, talking about small things, or sometimes not talking at all. Something not really paying attention before heading to bed. And for a long time, I thought that was it. That this sequence of small, manageable days was all life really was. Not in a bad way, just in a complete way. Like everything important had already settled into place. Was a late summer afternoon, of those days where the air feels warm but not heavy. Where the sunlight softens everything instead of overwhelming. There was a faint smell of freshly cut grass drifting in through the window, the kind of scent that makes you feel nostalgic without knowing why. Acoustic. Soft. Easy. The kind of background noise that fills the silence without demanding attention. Was cooking dinner, not just any dinner. I was trying to impress my friend Megan. Megan has this effortless way of turning even the simplest meals into something memorable. She doesn't just cook, she creates. And every time she comes over, I feel this quiet pressure to match that energy. Even though I know I probably can. Daniel had mentioned earlier that his coworker, Ethan, might stop by. He needed to return a screwdriver he'd borrowed. I'd met Ethan a few times before. He was easy to be around, tall, top polite, in a way that didn't feel forced. The kind of person who carries a quiet confidence, not loud, not attention-seeking, but present. If I had to describe him in one sentence, I'd say, he seemed like someone who didn't get easily shaken, and that was it. That's all he was to me. A familiar face, nothing more. By late afternoon, the house had shifted into that familiar, pre-guest energy. Not chaos exactly, but not calm either. Somewhere in between. Counters were wiped down twice, even though they were already clean. Candles were placed, adjusted and then adjusted again. Towels were straightened. Music volume changed, then changed back. It's funny how we pretend we're not obsessing over details, while quietly obsessing over every single one. I was setting the table when I remembered the bread rolls. They were tucked away in the pantry. Bottom shelf, of course. I walked over, humming softly along with the music, and bent down to grab the basket. The wooden floor creaked slightly under my weight. A small, familiar sound, and then footsteps. Closer than I expected. Turned around quickly. Too quickly, my heart jumped not. Dramatically but enough to notice. Was Ethan standing right behind me, holding the screwdriver. For a second, we both froze. Not in an awkward way. Not in a dramatic way. Just in that strange, quiet pause that happens when two people suddenly realize they're sharing the same space more closely than expected. "Claire," he said with a soft laugh, "I didn't mean to sneak up on you." I laughed too, but mine came out a little thinner than I expected. "I didn't hear you come in," I said. Daniel had probably let him in through the side door while he was outside in the garden. In our neighborhood, people don't always knock. Familiarity replaces formality, and normally, that feels comforting. But in that moment, it just felt noticeable. There was this subtle awareness, the kind you feel in an elevator, or when you're standing just a little too close to someone in line, not uncomfortable, but present, like your senses quietly sharpen for a second. I stood up, placing the basket on the counter. "Big dinner tonight?" I said, gesturing lightly, trying to impress a friend. He smiled. "You'll do fine." We talked for maybe a minute about food recipes. That's what it should have been. Then Daniel walked in, drying his hands, talking about something in the garden, and just like that, the moment dissolved, gone, finished, gone over, or at least, that's what I thought. Because here's the strange part. 10 seconds, maybe less, stayed with me not because of Ethan, inappropriate or complicated. It stayed with me because it interrupted something. It broke the rhythm of my day, and in doing that, it made me aware of something I hadn't noticed before. Up until that point, my days felt like a straight line, predictable, structured, safe, but that moment, that small, almost invisible pause felt like a tiny crack in that line. Not a bad crack, not something that broke anything, just a shift, a reminder that life isn't just a sequence of planned events. It's also made up of interruptions, unexpected overlaps, moments you didn't schedule, didn't prepare for, didn't even notice until later, and somehow. Those are the moments that stay with you the longest.